Hey everybody, today I'm going to be talking about Veritrip. It's an implantable biochip that is literally the chip of the future, even though it's not so much of the future, and I'll delve into it. I'm Brian Short, and here I go. So, I'm going to give you an outline of what I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to talk about it. So, I'm going to give you a good overview of what the chip actually is, the history behind it, because there's a lot of history for something that sounds very futuristic. And then obviously the potential uses, and there's a lot of potential risks. And we'll go over some myths and any ideas that people might have about it. And then the current state of the chip, where it is now, and then also I'll even get into a little bit of where it could be going. All right, so from there, we're going to start with an overview of the chip. As I said in the beginning, it is an implantable chip. It's about the size, or about the shape of like a pill capsule, but obviously it's much smaller. You can see in the image how small it really is. And the size actually means that it doesn't hold that much data. It doesn't have a lot of functionality at that size where we currently are with technology. But I'm going to explain how it works. The chip contains an RFID signature. It is like if you have like a credit card, or I think most modern licenses all have RFID chips. A lot of places, if you go to work in a secure facility later on in life or now, you'll have like a badge or some sort of PIN key code that you'll need to get into the building. That's an RFID signature. That's why you can just slap a badge against something. You don't have to scan any barcodes. But that's actually how it works. Is it's just a barcode. Basically, it when you put it near a reader, a magnet actually activates the chip to transmit, and then the chip will transmit its authentication key because that's all that's stored on it. There's nothing but a key which is used to access your data. So the key is associated with your data, and it also usually the system that you set it up for. Your key will only be useful there because then it has to go through the decryption process that the system has that will then associate it with you and your data, whatever data that is that you need. Like if it's just an entry code, that's all it'll do. It just keeps track of, this person went through this door at this time. That's all it would keep track of. And it would unlock it for you. It would be like, this person is authorized to go through this door at this time. It's all a system like that would do. And so when a magnet gets near it, it activates it. It doesn't have power on its own. It does not. It has to be near a magnet in order to be activated. So, and that is the idea. It usually was just implanted in like an arm. I know there's tales of people putting it in fingers and stuff like that, but it usually goes in an arm because that's where FDA approval spot is as of right now. So I'll get into the history of it. So, I mean, there's a lot of people you've probably heard of before getting their pets chipped. The RFID tag goes onto the dog, cat, whatever, and then it runs away. And if someone finds it, they can scan the chip and get the ownership. And that's a really good alternative to, say, a collar or a little tag, which can be easily lost. Dogs like to run wild, some of them. And then so it was around 2001, 9/11. There was a firefighter who was writing his name ID on his arm in case when he went into the building he didn't come out. And there was a doctor who had heard of this, saw this, and he knew about the technology of RFID chips for animals. And he said, well, why can't we do that to humans? All right, so humans could be easily identified if they had the information in their arms or whatever. Because, I mean, sometimes, you know, disasters happen and you need to be able to quickly identify people, even if they're not in the fit state to tell you, hey, I am, or they don't have any other identification on them. This is the easiest way to do it. This would have to be a very widespread thing, but the guy who saw this, the doctor, created Verichip, which is just a company that has actually created the first FDA-approved biochip. There are other companies out there. They're in other countries. Usually there's like Sweden is actually very popular for it. But I'll get into that later. So Verichip is the first FDA-approved biochip. Verichip is a company that wants this to be used for medical purposes. They want to be able to get medical records, identification information, all from a chip in your arm. However, obviously, the medical, like if an ambulance picks you up, they have to be able to read that. So this is why it's not too big at the moment. It has to take off slowly because be honest, some people are a little bit opposed to having a chip in their arms. There are also people out there who are paranoid that, the government's going to do it anyways, or that the government is going to be doing it, like, or they're going to give you this medical chip and it's going to steal all your data. But we'll get into the risks too. But it is actually a very good idea, very feasible, and it is good for people who are, medically, like anything could happen at any moment. So, potential uses. Obviously, I've got into medical identification already, and this is kind of the present day use, the practical use, I would say, the one that is most likely to be able to be implemented into society without any real clapback from society, basically. A lot of people would be upset, but then there are people that already do this, and it's a possibility that you can do this. But smart device integration, like if you see the image, key, transportation. So you go to the subway, and instead of having to get your little subway card and go up to the machine and put your money on it, and then you go up and you slide your card in, comes out the other side, then you walk through. Imagine just sliding your hand over the top of it, and you're good. And that's nice because then you don't lose your transportation card. You're not late to work, and that's obviously if you live in an area that has the subway. I know here in Brockport, here in Rochester, we don't have that system besides public buses. But even then, that's still a possibility. If it was just a key associated with one account, your account for your transportation that has your credits or whatever for going on the bus or going on a train, this is a good idea. It's an idea, but the problem here is, again, you would really have that one chip that would only transmit that one thing. So you could only come up with one use for it. It would only be used for your transportation thing, or it could be medical identification. It most likely won't be both, because you wouldn't want you wouldn't want your medical information to be accessed when you're trying to get on the train. It's obvious. Hands-free communication, again, right now, only one thing that would actually be used. And I know I said hands-free, but that means you don't have to physically touch anything. You'd still have to wave your hand over it or do something like that, and you would have it send a specific signal, which is possible. There was a hacker at one point who used a similar idea, similar chip, to hack people's phones when he got near them. But that is basically the realm of science fiction. You won't hear a lot about that nowadays, at least. In the future, who knows? But then again, the big thing is no more need for a wallet, too. You won't lose your credit cards. Don't have to carry around cash. You just swipe your hand over, your account goes down. Now you've got your milk, you walk out of the store. It's simple concept, but also fascinating at the same time, because this really is the future. The wallet, if you think about it, has been a staple of society for a long time. Many people have wallets, designer wallets. They've got women have purses, men also have purses, and it'd be wild to see that people come around, or they basically travel. It would be, at this point, it would just be a smartphone if they had a smart device for a key to the house, or they had the thing for their wallet. It's the future, really, for a smart society where everything is interconnected. It's kind of amazing when it comes to this. Smart device, you come home, wave your hand in front of your door opens, go up to thermostat. I don't know how you'd integrate this, but if you just waved your hand, it could set it to a certain temperature, turn it on and off. It's a lot of interesting potential uses. Feasibly, you won't see these soon, but once we get chips that are either better designed or the technology advances, you could have one chip that does a lot of different things. And if we do see that, it would be quite the future. It'd be the cyberpunk sci-fi future that you see in all the movies, like Blade Runner and all that. Hopefully less dystopia. All right, potential risks. People could be tracked by their chips. This is obviously in a secure facilities, like I said before, that's beneficial. But if we're in something like you're walking to work or something like that, and someone is scanning everybody's information as they go by, keep track of them, stalking them, that's not okay. That's very possible. Anybody with a reader would have to get, they'd have to get real near you, but if there was some place where it was tight fitting, or you were standing on the sidewalk and there was something when you go to press the button across the road, if there was something in that is risky. That is something nobody would want. So like a reader has to be close to a chip for it to work, like within a few centimeters, maybe up to 6 inches, but it's still a risk. And then hacking, someone with a reader could read the authentication key off someone else's chip. You heard me say earlier that it's basically a barcode for a person, and a barcode you can look at and see the number on it. So if you were to read the data off that chip, replicate it, and put it out, you could get access to someone's information. This is why you wouldn't want too much of someone's personal information there. Maybe easy identification information is great, or if it's something that is specifically for, it takes information that wouldn't put you at risk. This is why wallets and keys and all that would not be feasible right now if you didn't have good protection or a second countermeasure in place. This is part of the who you are kind of stuff at this point. When it goes into, it's a second stage of cyberification for humans, which means it's not something you could just take off like a watch or a shirt. It's something that would actually take a huge process to get out of you. And so it becomes who you are for authentication. So it would be difficult to see this implemented right away because of the potential risks. Many people would be, opposed to it. I'm sure their private information is out there already, but it'd be out there for more to see or for malicious sources to come see. So the current state of the chip, I've explained where it could go, where it's probably going, where it's been, and we'll go into the current state of the chip, where Verichip is, and where the other companies that are put in. The other companies in general, there's basically a lot of small ones, so I won't go into naming any of them, but they have to do with body piercings and body modifications. So they're essentially, right now, it's like a fashion thing that you'd go in and you'd get your little body mod chip put in by an expert, of course. These people are trained for the most part, and then you would get your little chip, and it'd be just like getting a piercing. But there is Verichip, it does exist. Small chips, obviously, I said they cannot store much data. They can usually only hold one unique ID at once. But some people do get custom chips installed. There's stories of people getting things installed in their hands and arms and legs that will activate one thing. There's like one possibility is you could actually, for the wireless communication part, all you would do is you'd send like a picture to someone's phone. It's like airdropping, but you can only airdrop one image always, and you can't not airdrop that image when you're near somebody. So, come and go. Some people like that, embracing the idea of cyberification for humans. But right now, Verichip in America is FDA approved that it can be used for medical records. However, it's not yet widespread. Verichip has to push the Verimedical system that they have created. That is as simple as once people have the chip, their system is also in place at the hospital, and their information is connected to the chip. Some sources, you'll notice that like this topic has a lot to do with the what ifs of society, but it's also very real and exists already. The technology, you see it every day. You just don't see it in people as the way this would go. But you also will see it in pop culture a lot. I know Cyberpunk, the video game, just came out today, and the whole point of it is there is a chip that is on somebody, and that drives the plot. So the future is, well, near, but not as crazy as some of those things might like show it. But I think personally that this chip has a lot of benefits for society. I think the risks aren't actually that great, and that it'd be interesting to see widespread use for those who would need a chip, and then also widespread use for those who want a chip. I wouldn't mind being able to come home, wave, door opens. That'd be pretty cool. Let me know what you guys think, and tell me about your vision of the future. Thank you.